You are the problem, not your friends, not your company. It's easy to blame them, but you gotta be able to blame yourself. You're not just sitting here telling me that you were in this giant masturbation circle. Grab your hand, grab the other hand. Let's just get the bottom, get the top, get the top. Assalamu alaikum, another episode of ASKSQ. You ask, I respond. That's how this thing goes. And if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing. We always speak about topics that are certainly taboo, and somehow they always serve as an iman boosters. So let's get into this question. Assalamu alaikum. I am 15 years old and addicted to masturbation. Join the club. I started when I was in bad company, and since then we have been unable to break the habit. Hold on a second. What do you mean you started off in bad company? What does that mean? We're a bunch of you dudes, a bunch of friends, just trying to like masturbate together? Was that what you're trying to do? Like, hey, you grab your arm here, I grab my arm over here. What do you mean? Who are you blaming? You're blaming your friends? You're blaming your bad company? Blame yourself, homie. You do not blame anyone besides yourself. You are the problem, not your friends, not your company. It's easy to blame them, but you gotta be able to blame yourself. You're not just sitting here telling me that you were in this giant masturbation circle. Grab your hand, grab the other hand. Let's just get the bottom, get the top, get the top. You can't blame people for your problems, man. You gotta blame yourself. If you're addicted to masturbation, it's because you're a young man who is super horny. Yes, your friends play a role, but you can't blame your friends for your own shortcomings. You gotta blame yourself. You gotta hold yourself accountable. I sincerely try to stop myself every time, but somehow my desires always sneak through, and it happens before I know it. You're acting like your hands are possessed over here.
Springtime. Well, there's a long ball through, and
oh my God, an insane goal! I've just seen the most insane goal I have ever seen on a football pitch. Incredible Zlatan Ibrahimovic. World class.
Joe Hart has come off his line, headed the ball into the path of Ibrahimovic, who has just lobbed the ball from long distance, beautifully, like a trick shot, into the back of the net. And it's Sweden 4, England 2.
Oh my days, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I want to go and give you a man hug. That is the beautiful...
Look, I understand it's a very slippery slope, and it's easy to get caught up in this spiral or circle of masturbation, especially if you're looking at the wrong things, hanging around with the company. But at the end of the day, you gotta hold yourself accountable. You can't blame others for your problem. On the day of judgment, you're not gonna be able to blame your friends for your problems. You're gonna be blaming yourself. And if you try to blame your friends on the day of judgment, your friends will deny any relationship to you at all. So learn to start holding yourself accountable now. People in my community think I'm pious for my age just because I'm genuine in repenting and my iman is strong when I'm out at the masjid. See, that's the problem. I understand that, you have an image to maintain, but at the end of the day, your relationship with Allah is with Allah. It's private. Whatever relationship you have with Allah is between you and Allah. Stop trying to, answer to the people. Stop trying to think that, people are going to judge you for being good or bad, or they might think better of you than you actually are. I understand the struggle. I understand what you mean by this, but you got to focus on yourself. You can't be worried about what people will think about you, whether it's good or bad, as long as you know you're doing your best to uphold your character. And this is a blessing from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is hiding your shortcomings. So it's not a bad thing that they think positively of you, but you should never be thinking, man, what will people think about me if I ever got exposed? What will people wonder and think if they ever found out what I do on the low? You got to always be worried about what will Allah think. Allah always sees me on the low. Am I not embarrassed that Allah sees what I'm doing wrong instead of worried about what the people think I'm doing wrong? It doesn't matter what the people think. This is a mercy and a blessing from Allah that Allah has hidden your shortcomings from the people. Now, hold yourself to higher standards and inshaAllah, try your hardest to become a better person. My biggest advice for you is always try to stay in the company of good, pious people, or at least in the company of your family. So the more time you're spending with them and around people, less likely you are to be spending time with yourself alone and doing nasty things like masturbation. But you got to figure out what those triggers are. What's triggering you to start masturbation? Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Snapchat, maybe it's something in a magazine you're looking at, maybe it's a movie you're watching, maybe it's some music you're listening to. There's tons tons of different triggers, and each person's an individual. You got to figure out what those triggers are. You got to figure out why you're masturbating. Maybe you're procrastinating. Maybe when you're bored. Maybe when you have an assignment to do for university and you're bored and you're trying to like distract yourself. What's the reasoning happening? You got to figure out when do you get triggered for masturbation. And once you figure out what that trigger is, now that you're more conscious of it, try your hardest to not only follow what I've told you already, but add a few new things. Sleep with the door open. Maybe start sleeping in the living room. Sleep on the floor. Do something where you're in the public eye most of the time so you're not by yourself. But figure out what those triggers are, because those triggers are what's reminding you or encouraging you or prompting you to masturbate. And you got to be more conscious of Allah and your triggers. You got to become more self-aware and figure out what are the things that are causing you to masturbate. But at the end of the day, you got to blame yourself and hold yourself accountable. Not in a form of despair, but in a form that you know that you're trying to get better. And this is Allah's way of showing you where your shortcomings still are. So become a better person, inshaAllah, and recognize that this is Allah's way of eradicating your bad habits and showing you where you still have those flaws. So never think of yourself too pious. I know you're not, but this is Allah's way of showing you your weaknesses and your shortcomings. Those sins are less sins, and turn those sins into strengths now, inshaAllah. Well, that was my advice. I want to know, what would you advise this brother if they DM'd you? What would you like to tell them? Please drop your advice below. And if you have no advice, that's okay too. Drop a kind, beautiful comment, inshaAllah, that will brighten up their day and give them hope that they could turn back to Allah. How to encourage them, inshaAllah, because they're going to watch this and they're going to read these comments. So inshaAllah, leave something positive. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. I appreciate you watching. If you would like for a chance for your question to be featured on the show, all you got to do is DM me on any one of these social media platforms right here, WAYOFLIFESQ. You ask, I respond. Until next time, I'm out.